Is the Swift still cool? Exactly 19 years ago, Maruti Suzuki launched what would be their most transformative car. It changed the way Indians looked at Maruti Suzuki. Ask any automaker what they'd like besides selling a ton of cars, and they'd say they'd like to look cool. That brings us to this 4th generation Swift. I'm going to tell you all about this new Swift, and I'm going to answer one important question. Is it still cool? You might be surprised to know that years before Maruti Suzuki launched the Swift, the design was actually its weak point. Customer clinics conducted by the brand revealed that not many people liked the way the car looked. But things changed when people started to see the car in the flesh. The Gen 1 Swift looked sporty and sexy. It didn't look like other conventional hatchbacks of its time. Maruti Suzuki finally had a hatchback to take on Hyundai, a company that was acing the hatchback game back in the early 2000s. Just like the Gen 1 Swift, this Gen 4 Swift has a purposeful stance. It has those same wide haunches. You don't have to look at this badge on the back to tell you this is a Swift. Almost as iconic as a 911 is for Europe, well, the Swift is for India. This is the most recognizable car shape you can find in India. At the turn of the decade, the next generation of the Swift was launched in India. The Gen 2 Swift looked bolder than the car it replaced. It had grown in size, but it was unmistakably a Swift. Then came the Gen 3 Swift, sticking to the formula that worked so well for previous 2 generations of the car. I'd like to dive deeper into their history, but we have a whole gone but not forgotten episode as part of a review of the Swift, as well as a used car buying guide on the Swift. So let's leave some of that for later. Let's get back to our walk around of the new Swift. While the haunches are a signature element of the Swift, the designers had a lot more liberty to play with the front end of the cars. These headlamps are nice diamond shaped headlamps. The bumper is more aggressive than before, and when you move towards the side, you will notice this belt line running all the way to the back of the car. The new Swift also gets these traditional rear door handles instead of the ones on the door. That's, I think, a neat element. And you get these 15-inch diamond cut alloy wheels for the Swift. Let's take a look at the rear of the car before I show you the interior now. Much like a certain British hot hatch, this rear end of the Swift is an iconic shape. The tailgate slips in right between these two tail lamps, and you get a small opening for the boot that reveals a fairly adequate boot. I'm sure the Swifties won't mind it. Boot space at 265 liters is just about adequate. What do you think about the design of the new Swift though? Love it, hate it? Do leave us a comment. This is the new Z12E 3-cylinder petrol engine in the Swift. This is the first car to get this engine. Power is down about 10%, 80.5 bhp and 111.7 Nm. However, fuel efficiency has improved compared to the previous generation Swift. 24.8 kmpl for the manual transmission Swift and 25.75 kmpl for the AMT Swift. What do you think about this new engine? Do leave us a comment. Maruti Suzuki says that they've been able to negate the dip in performance by giving better lower end torque, which makes the car better to drive in the city as well as more efficient than before. At least that is what they claim. We will know all about it very soon during the test drive of the Swift. Until then, let's move to the interior of the car. Interesting new engine, right? Now let's talk about the interiors of the new Swift. You get analog dials on the instrument cluster. You get a larger 9-inch infotainment screen. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is wireless. You get a wireless charging for your phone. You get 2 cup holders here, automatic air conditioning, and you get a 5-speed manual gearbox with the Swift. You also get an AMT gearbox, some space to store stuff here, and you get 1 USB charging port here and a Type-C port as well. The front seats though are the highlight. The Swift has always had very comfortable front seats. These are as comfortable as I remember of previous generations of the Swift. Now let me take you to the rear and show you the space in the rear seat. Space is surprisingly adequate in the back seat. This seat is set to my driving position, so I've got decent knee room and headroom. My feet tuck in nicely under the front seats. You've got these AC vents here. There's no air conditioning for the back, but there are vents, so it channels cool air to the back passengers. Overall, it's a comfortable place, but for 2 passengers, not for 3. Although the middle row passenger gets this 3-point seat belt, which is a good addition to the Swift. Alright, let's talk safety. The Swift gets 6 airbags and ESP as standard. That makes it the safest Swift ever. At the J-NCAP tests, this new Swift scored 4 stars in the crash test rating. Well, on the Bharat NCAP tests, we don't know how much it's going to score. We'll have to wait and see that. And that leaves us with the price. The Swift starts from rupees 6.49 lakh ex-showroom for the LXI MT variant and goes up all the way to 9.64 lakh for the ZXI Plus dual tone AGS variant. Ask yourself this: is the Swift still cool? If you haven't seen this car before, would you be able to guess which car this is? If you have seen previous generations of the car, then I reckon you definitely would, and that's amazing brand value. But a 10% drop in power and an increase in fuel efficiency doesn't make a car cool. So we'll have to wait for a definitive answer when you watch the review of the Swift on Evo India. Until then, I'm Anand Mohan. See you next time.